Welcome everyone. How you doing? There's a couple things that went a little wrong there, huh? How you doing? How's everybody doing today? Hopefully I can get this right. Um, I've gotten numerous things wrong today. Okay, there we go. I'll stop at that in a minute. Welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. Or maybe nobody caught that. That would be great. It's good to see you all. And tonight is a question and answer, so that means that you can ask whatever question you might like, whatever you might be into, whatever kind of questions that might appeal to you. So, it could be about spirits, it could be about developing as a medium or something else or anything like that. So, hi Cynthia, welcome. And hi Barbara, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here. I'm glad you guys showed up. Hopefully everybody has some questions. So I guess I'll just start talking about death astrology, because that is one of the topics that I love to talk about. But you can put any questions you might like. Just put them down in the chat and I'll pick them up. Hi, Maisha. Hi, Maisha. And I do a special one-of-a-kind type of reading. It's called a death chart reading, or astrology death chart reading, which is essentially really great for helping you to understand why someone has died, or why someone has why they passed at that time, or anything like that. That's a great. The astrology is essentially, you can look at the time a person died and the time that they were born, and you look at their life chart, like when they were born, but you also look at when they passed. And so that together in itself kind of gives you, yeah, that kind of gives you a good idea of what they may have passed for. So, like, or if they achieved their life purpose or anything like that. Hi, Beth. Hi, Beth Wetstein and Mystical Connections Group. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Sometimes the group decides to show me the comments, and sometimes it doesn't. So anyway, I'm glad you're here. You can put your questions down in the comments. And so death astrology is essentially a really great way to unpack any grief you might be having, especially it's been 6 months or a year. Can really help you come to an understanding of what that death was meant for in your life, and why why maybe why the person passed at that time. It's a special type of chart. As far as I know, I'm pretty much the only person that puts together sort of my mediumship skills with astrology. I don't know anyone else that does it. I have tried to look it up. I have found one other person that uses astrology to coach you through grief, which is a little bit different than what I'm doing. So it's a great way to really explore the death and the meaning of it. Like, if you're looking for some bigger meaning, sometimes people will say things like, why why did they die at that time, or what am I supposed to learn from this, or why did this happen to me now? There's a lot of questions like that, or was this really destined, or so it might depend on what your question is. Hi, Henry. How you doing? So you're welcome to put any questions down in the chat. The beautiful thing, any questions you might have about anything, it doesn't have to be about death astrology, but it's a fascinating subject to understand that there might be exit points. Well, Cynthia, you're asking why your son went, and that's kind of a hard question to answer without looking at his astrology chart. That's what I'm saying. Why? Well, that's what the death astrology is. So I have to look at his birthday and his death day, and I also have to look at your chart. And I put all of them together, and I can answer a lot of those questions. So that's exactly what it's meant to be about. Yeah, so and there's a lot of things regarding death. Sometimes there's exit points in your astrology chart. And so an exit point is a point in which it's a potential for you to pass, but you could make a decision that chooses you, like, if you quit smoking or if you take better care of your health or whatever, that's going to extend your life. So exit points come up throughout our lives, and we probably pass over them. Sometimes we might notice, and sometimes we might not. Sometimes you might find yourself in the hospital, but you didn't die, type of deal. And so that's kind of like death astrology. I don't predict people's death. I don't do that. I just feel that we're not supposed to know when we're gonna die. When you book a reading, Cynthia, book a reading with me at divineandrogen.com. Be happy to do it with you whenever you schedule it. So like, you have to understand that astrology is complicated, and there can be a variety of meanings for one planet, for instance. So like Pluto can represent death, but it can also represent major transformation and change. So it kind of really depends on, it kind of really depends on the person's situation. So sometimes if a person is already dying, let's say of cancer or something, and you look at their death chart, then you might be able to say, well, they'll probably go on this day, right? Okay, but but sometimes there are unexpected deaths and things like that, but they'll still show in the death chart when we look at them, especially when I look at it with the birth chart. So I look at both of them together, as well as your chart. And then I put the two of them together so that I can talk more about your relationships, such as, were you soulmates, or maybe you were twin flames, or you had a soul contract. It's hard to say. But there can be a lot of different types of relationships. So hi, Dara Irwin. Yeah, Dara, it can really help you come to a complete understanding about the loss. So Dara said 3 months today for the loss of my brother. I would love to do this. I'd love to work with you, Dara, and just kind of, take a look at the whole chart, the whole picture. And I always say that it's kind of like the universe's perspective of your loved one's death. Okay. And that can be that can be hard to take sometimes. It can also be complicated. But most of the time people find great healing. They find profound healing in this. So most people find that they come to more acceptance and understanding faster. And acceptance of the death. It doesn't mean that you're okay with it. Acceptance is, okay, I've accepted that they've passed and there was nothing I could do about it. And that's what was supposed to happen. And that's acceptance. Okay. And that's really sort of the best place that you can get to with any loss, especially if someone that you really loved. Like, you're not going to, you're not going to ever feel good about someone's death. I've never felt good about someone's death. And if you do, we might want to check on your mental health, right? Okay. So that's not usually what we're looking for. What we're usually looking for is to help you in grief as a grief coach, because I do grief coaching and mentorship and things like that. And in that, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get you to a place of acceptance with grief coaching. And that's why I find that the that type of reading can really help you. Okay. So Dara, I hope that we get to do that someday, and anyone's welcome to ask any question about anything. Sometimes we talk about spirits, sometimes we talk about other topics like ghosts, like developing your own abilities. I believe that everyone has the ability to communicate with spirits on the other side. Everyone has the ability to communicate with people on the other side. Okay. um that's just how it is. The only thing that makes me different as a psychic medium um is the only thing that really makes it, like, the only thing different is that I'm more of like a counselor. So then I can just kind of I can also help the person, right, with anything that might be going on for them. So that's really what makes me different as a medium. And I find that most people that choose to follow the mediumship path are people that want to help, people that are counselors, people that want to support others in their journey for whatever reason. And sometimes they've had their own pain, right? Okay, like they've experienced their own pain, their own whatever, and so then they um, they've experienced their own loss with somebody they love, and so then they want to give back, right? Or they want to. A lot of times when we have a wound, um, we heal it. When we get to the other side of that healing, we oftentimes want to help others with it. So essentially, that means that, like, you can um that there's a lot of different ways to approach it. Okay, so like you can simply approach connecting to the other side by trying to do guided meditations. You can you can do guided meditations. You can learn about the different types of clairs, and so there's like clairaudience, and there's like clairsentience, and these are like feeling it, and you know like different, you can feel it, you can smell spirits, you can hear spirits, you can sense spirits. Okay. So thank you, Brianna, I so appreciate that. Brianna said, I can attest Hollis is so encouraging, kind, and accurate, not to mention so helpful with helping you navigate being stuck. Astrology reading is so helpful and almost giving you. Yeah, it's I find that I'm not sure how others live without astrology, frankly. I have to know what's going on in my astrology chart, otherwise I feel lost. I have to know what's happening, So so I hope that there are some great questions. I know that you guys have some great questions. So, connecting to the other side on your own is not really that hard. I do have classes about once a month. I'll have a class next month that's more specific, that I can give you direct coaching. So Trisha, that's a good question. Well, I think that there's at least some training. I don't know if you need to take classes or if you need to be mentored, or maybe a little bit of both. I could connect to the other side before I had any training, but like I didn't know how to interpret things, but I didn't really know I was connecting. So I kind of needed someone to help me. I needed someone to help me like understand what I was feeling or sensing or hearing, if that makes sense. So that was helpful. And I had a couple of mentors online that I got to work with way, way back in AOL days. Now I feel old. It was way back before video. Okay. I guess in the 90s, in the late 90s. And there was people that just sort of helped me. And I picked up, I also listened to some sort of recorded trainings by John Edwards, um, who at the time had a show named Crossing Over. Of course, he was accused of like getting people's information before they enter into his event. I'm just going to say I attended his event and they didn't ask me for anything. Okay. And I don't think the girls next to me, they got a reading. The girls, there was a lot of people around me that got a reading, but I'm pretty sure that they weren't expecting it. I mean, I could be wrong, but as far as I could tell, he was legit. Okay. I've seen him live. But I would say that it takes time to tap into the ability. It takes practice. And I would highly suggest that you create a relationship with, that's the first thing that I usually suggest to people, is you could create a relationship with your spirit guides. Yeah, it's all good, Trisha. I don't know if he has anything these days, but back then it was a recorded cassette tape. So, but you could there's all kinds of things on YouTube. I do have a class that's just like $20 next month, that you'll see if you're on Divine Androgen, if that's what page you're on. So I think, and the $20 class feels like, oh, that's great. And then that will lead you to more practicing. And I will probably also have a practice group, which is where I practice, where everybody kind of practices. A bunch of people wanting to be a medium practice with each other. So it's easier, in case you're wrong, right? It's easier to learn and the other person can kind of help you along. It's easier than just doing it with like cold people or skeptical people. Cynthia said, I grew up with this. I knew I had something, but it's full force. I'm not afraid. Good. You shouldn't be afraid, Cynthia. I don't know why some people are afraid of spirits. There's no need to be afraid of spirits. Spirits won't hurt you. First of all, that's impossible. But second of all, it's just not likely. It's just not going to happen. It's never actually happened. People say they've been hurt by a spirit, but really it's like, well, I was pushed down the steps. I fell down the steps while I was on a paranormal investigation, but no spirit has actually come out and punched somebody in the face or anything like that. They'll say that maybe a spirit pushed them down the steps or something, but couldn't it be that they were just scared and they fell down the steps? I mean, like it's not really that hard, is it? All right. So when you say spirit guides, does this relate to anyone specifically that has crossed over, or is it more the preset spirits that you have zero control over? Actually, it's both, Trisha. It's both. So sometimes the spirits that the people that you loved that were here in your life, they when they pass, they become your spirit guide. So when someone you love passes, they become your spirit guide. So then you can just tap into them, and they're kind of like an angel or whatever. But they'll be happy to guide you, to help you connect to other spirits, even for others. They kind of I call them guardians because they're kind of at your front door. And they just kind of sit at your front door. Okay. So, and they're just kind of waiting. And they try to guide you. They try to get your attention. They try to tell you, they'll try to tell you all kinds of things, like don't go that way, or don't be around that person, or don't do this, or do this on this day, or take this job. So most of the time spirit guides are guiding you anyway. And sometimes we get messages from them, but we take credit for them because we're human beings. So as human beings, most of the time we think we thought of it. but usually it's actually our spirit guide giving us a download. Okay, so I call it a download. And sometimes it especially happens when you're quiet and you're meditating or you're doing yoga or you're sitting outside staring at a tree or, something like that. It'll just pop into your head and then suddenly you know something that you didn't know before. So that's kind of how that works. No. Um, so let's see. Can spirit guides also keep certain entities away? Sure, they may even sometimes keep toxic people away from you. Especially if you're in extreme danger. Um, they'll also sometimes give you like a heads up that someone means you harm. Um, so like sometimes um, sometimes your guides will just keep them away from you. There aren't really, I don't know if I wouldn't say that there are entities that they need to keep away from you because I don't believe in evil spirits. Okay. So I just don't think that's possible. It shows up different for everyone, but you would normally hear it in your mind, Trisha. Like I explained, like, you're like you get like a download, like you know, um, you're outside looking at the trees and you all of a sudden get this download that your dad is with you right now. Or usually they don't say it's me, your dad, because that's not usually what's happening. Like usually they just usually what they do is they'll just tell you what to do. Now, if you get quiet into a meditative state and invite them in for messages, then they'll come in and they'll try to tell you who they are by giving you signs, and that could look different for everyone. But they'll try to give you signs, and then and then they'll just help you sort of they'll try to give you messages that would be helpful in your life right now. Yeah. So it really depends on who you are, what you're doing. So Kristen Lynn in the mediums group has a great question, and so does Carly. I'll get to your question in just one moment. Carly, you're next. I just seen it now after I already got Kristen's question. So Kristen's question is, how long until someone dies can they reach out or become your spirit guide? Actually, pretty immediately, Kristen. Especially if you're very tuned in, I was already a tuned in medium, and my stand-in mom passed, and she really was a big deal in my life, and she passed, and I actually heard her and she was kind of like, I'm gone. And I was like, what? And I was like, wait a minute. I think she may have died. And I knew that she was in the hospital, and I had seen her maybe a couple weeks prior. And then I called I had a dream she had died. So then I called the hospital, and they were like, the nurse couldn't confirm. This is what she says. Well, I can't confirm Karen's death for you. Because I wasn't technically like her next of kin or whatever. So, but you get what I'm saying. Okay. So I knew she died. So it was immediate. Especially if you're already in tune. Okay. So it doesn't take any extra time. Yeah, it doesn't take a long time. Okay. All right. So Carly asked, do you think, Carly asked, do you think gut feelings are intuition or a sign from a guide? Yes. Kind of, because I kind of think that sometimes intuition is your guides as well. Like, I kind of think the two are one and the same. I'm not sure there's a huge separation of the two. Okay. Like, I just don't think there's a huge separation. So, it's just kind of, I think they just kind of combine. Okay. So, great question though, Carly. I appreciate it. Summer said, since my mom passed, I find pennies all the time. Then my son started finding them too. I'm guessing my mom is definitely my spirit guide leaving us signs. Absolutely, Summer. I would validate that. Yes. I would say yes, yes, yes. And then, yeah, so Carly, I would say both. Yeah. I'd say it's both actually combined, because I think that your spirit guides know they have some control or influence on your intuition. Okay. Summer said, can your spirit guides warn you in your dreams? I had a very vivid dream of a catastrophic flood outside my house a few days before Helene hit. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I've had a very similar thing, Summer. I seen COVID coming. I've had, yeah. And I think it's a little bit of like psychic plus your guides trying to give you a heads up. So I kind of think it's like a little bit of both of them, Summer, again, in your dreams. But yes, your spirit guides are I think your spirit guides and your intuition or your psychic ability are kind of the same thing. They're kind of they kind of all work together somehow. It's probably beyond our understanding, if that makes sense. It's probably way beyond our understanding. Most of what's on the other side is beyond our understanding, is what I usually experience. And I have to ask a lot of questions. So now Carrie Smith said, do our guides ever get exasperated with us? I'd say no, Carrie, because most of the time, okay, first of all, they're not human. Okay. Maddie Graham, if you keep asking that, I'm just going to boot you. Stop. So, most of the time, sorry, it was having a little bit of a scammer problem. So first of all, they're not human. So they don't get tired of you. That's kind of like, it's kind of like silly thinking, if that makes sense. That's projection is what we call that, because you're having a human experience, and your human experience is actually like you are experiencing being frustrated with someone or bored or tired of someone or irritated by someone. But when most people get into higher enlightenment, did you know that they don't react that way anymore? Did you know that, like, monks don't react in anger usually? Did you know that once you get onto the other side, you're not a human anymore? So that's the human experience, to be exasperated, bored, tired of, annoyed by. Okay, so that's not true. So just keep that in mind, Carrie. Your guides are not tired of you ever. They're patient, loving, kind, supportive, and there to support you. That's why they're there. Okay, and they want to see you win. So they're like your most patient, best parent ever. Okay. Now Trisha said, as a medium, what is your stand on a greater power, God, if you're comfortable to speak to that in the setting? I am, actually. I don't have any problems with my belief system. I think it's pretty accurate. So first of all, I believe that, so I believe in the other side, obviously. I believe that when we die, we cross over, and that we're working to be enlightened beings. Enlightened beings are angels. They're also, monks that have meditated for years and worked really hard to be peaceful beings on this earth, and they earned it. Or they may not always be monks. They could be other things too. Okay. But so I'm pretty strong about that. I also think that there are some creations from human energy that we create what could be called God, mostly from our minds and our heart center, because our heart center is actually proven to have electronic energy. So I think it comes from our heart and our brains, and our whole body. And as humans and as souls, um, every time we become a human, we may participate in the belief of a variety of types of projections of gods. Now, I do think that whatever you believe is true is true. I more believe that God is life, that life is God. So, like for each one of us, but all of us together can put our collective energy together to create what would be seen as, could be seen as God or a higher power. I do not believe, I think the Bible is a storybook. I think it's a fable book, a book to help you learn how to be a good person. I think the people that interpret the Bible have mental health problems most of the time. um, I am traditionally, I grew up Catholic, and I definitely studied. That didn't work for me. I ended up doing witchcraft in my teens. So I've been through the whole dark side, the darker side of witchcraft first. And then now I'm more of a neutral area. I'm definitely part of what we call New Thought. New Thought is where we believe that life is God. But I've been through a lot of different types of spiritual faiths. I have explored them, let me tell you. I have looked at all the faces of religions. I think that most religions are corrupt. They're to control humans. Um, and most of the time, for me, I think that mostly I communicate with my guides. And if I'm in trouble, yes, I might say, Goddess, please help me. But I usually refer to Goddess. And that's just from being, probably spending so many years as a witch or a Wiccan. And then, now I call myself more New Thought. And New Thought is just like believing that I have the energy within myself to heal myself, to control my own emotions, um, to live a little longer, to bring prosperity into me, or all of those kinds of things I believe are in our power. Um, and I think that we have the sort of the power to do that. So like I believe in like more of consciousness, I would say. But I do believe in a higher power, and I believe it's created by humans putting their energy together. Okay. So eye flips. Is it normal for your guides not to reveal themselves to you? Sometimes if you haven't forgiven someone, and they have a karmic debt to you. I do also believe in karma. So like that is like when let's say someone abused you and then they die. And then they're on the other side. They're probably your spirit guide, but they'll stay in hiding until you forgive them, because no spirit ever wants to upset you or scare you. So if you are trying to connect to your guides and they're having a hard time coming through, I want to talk to you about your fear, and address that. And iFlips says, I've tried to ask them to come through in meditation because I want to see what they look like, but it's never happened. So iFlips, I just wonder if maybe you're supposed to see them in a different way. You're supposed to experience them in a different way. And it's supposed to be a little bit different. It's maybe you're supposed to feel them in your body. Maybe you're supposed to smell them. Maybe you're supposed to hear them. So I want you to like tap. So if you were working with me, I would have you tapping into all different guides. Rachel Fleming asked, how do you know who is your guide? Well, typically they come to you when you're open to them. Doing meditations on a regular basis can really help you connect to them. And the stronger your relationship with your guides are, you'll notice the better your life is. It just is kind of like 1 + 1 = 2. So, at least in my experience, the more I connected with my guides, and now guides make themselves very clear to me. Sometimes guides even show up that I didn't even know were there, and then they show up later. And sometimes guides, they don't have to be somebody that you knew. And sometimes they can be something else. iFlips said, yes, thank you. I struggle with visualization. I think you are right about looking to experience them through maybe different senses. Exactly. And eventually, if you start developing your other senses, your visualization might get better. That's what I've noticed. Okay. So that's something you can know for sure. Thank you, Trisha. That was very well stated. Thank you, Trisha. Definitely have been doing this for a long time. So, Donna said, in your medium classes, so I'll be having a medium class next month, and I'll probably, and I'll put it out there. So if you're following my page, Divine Androgen, it will be easier for you to know. Or if you're in the group, I'll definitely put it in the group. In your medium classes, do you focus on just building the clairs, or how do you see spirit? Yes. Most of the time I just, I actually do a couple of things. So yeah, I talk about the clairs. I talk about all the different types of clairs and how it might come through for you. And how to sense, like how to sense if it's a spirit, or if it's if it's somebody or how to kind of decipher the messages. Okay. And then the other thing that I'll teach is, along with the clairs, is a meditation, a special meditation that creates a habit that you can go back to again and again and again and keep practicing until you start to meet your guides. So that's what's good about my class, is that you can, iFlips, it might be helpful for you to come to my class next month, because that could be really helpful for you. The best thing to do, iFlips, is to, because most of the time you're on YouTube, and most of the time I don't post, I can't post an event in YouTube, right? So if you follow me on Facebook, Divine Androgen, okay, see how it's spelled Divine Androgen up there? But if you just go to Divine Androgen book, you'll see videos of me with other people on my page. You'll find me. It's not a profile, though, okay? You can also go to divineandrogen.com and follow my social media there. So that way you make sure you get me and not a copycat. And then follow the page. And I'll probably keep talking about it in the next month. So hopefully maybe you can catch some other lives when I pick a date. I'll probably pick a date here very soon. Trisha said, I have to sign off, but thank you so much for this experience and this open floor for questions. You're amazing. I will try to remember to check back in your $20 class. I would like to participate. Okay, Trisha. Great. Just like I said, just keep following the group. I'll definitely put it in the events in the group for sure. In the mediums group for sure. iFlips, I'm not sure how you know me. Like if you know me in a group, like in the mediums group. I have a very large medium group with like 35,000 people in it. Or you're on my page. I'm not sure. But if you can find my page, if you go to my website, it will give you my social media. Sarah, you think one of your guides is a unicorn? That's probably likely. I actually believe in unicorns and fairies. So I believe that they exist in a different dimension, and sometimes they cross over and some of us see them. So I think they were sent to a different dimension, because it's just Just what I think. Some people might think I'm a little nuts for it, but I think I'm not hurting anything by believing that, right? So, um, yeah, so I think it's kind of fun. Like fairies and unicorns and hobbits. I used to be a performer in the fairy festival. I actually am part hobbit. All right. I also actually used to participate in a community called Otherkin. I do kind of, um, okay, great, great. iFlips. You probably see me live on there right now, probably iFlips, because I'm live on my page right now. iFlips found my page. Great. Um, so yeah, like I think, so otherkin, if you've never heard of it, is people that believe that either energetically or physically, they somehow have some sort of like entity. Like, did you ever meet somebody that identified as a vampire, um, or as a fairy, or as an elf? I used to go to an event with hundreds of elves and vampires and a bunch of fairies. So they're just people that believe somehow, either physically or energetically, they are part elf, fairy, vampire. Vampires usually believe they've been like bitten, and I could identify with the fairy side of it, the energetic of feeling like a fairy. So, see, I flips. Yeah, I've always felt like a pixie. Exactly. See, that's I'm with you, I flips. So it's not otherkin is an interesting community. They definitely exist. They're definitely interesting people. I appreciate their intelligence. They're very intelligent about it. They're not like schizophrenic or crazy or anything like that. Usually, actually, they're usually pretty sane people. I loved camping with them, because they were so clean. They were so good to the land, and they were actually really good to each other too. Which I'm just saying, maybe some of us so-called normal humans could learn a few things from them, because they were really good to each other and also good to the land. So you got to give them 1,000 points for that, you know. So, that's. Oh my God, eye flips. You're over there with all those trolls, huh? They're actually um so they're actually kind of stupid. The trolls right now. But I love otherkin. And otherkin are, and isn't it funny that we call the annoying people trolls? They're stupid. Um, so yeah, so I flips. I know you probably see them for just like a half minute and then their message disappears because I keep banning them. Yeah, that's why sometimes I'm a little like, because I'm just trying to ban them. Um, okay. So Bianca said that's kind of where I am at this point, exploring everything spiritual to figure out what makes sense to me and feels right. So lost after losing my son so young and tragically. It sucks feeling so lost, like the rug being ripped out from under you and having no foundation, especially being raised Christian and considering myself a Christian. So sometimes I look at it like maybe it's okay because it could be more ethnic, coming to an understanding, ethical, to come to an understanding on my own journey, but just wondering when. I actually think that is probably true, Bianca. And frankly, I can't tell you how many people I've looked at their astrology, their death astrology chart, and that's exactly what they're meant to do. They're meant to have a religious crisis, a spiritual crisis, right? And and they really question religion, And then they question, oh, it's more authentic. Yeah, I would agree that you would become more authentic by exploring as many religions as possible, Bianca. In fact, did you know? Now, this is interesting. My sister was going to be a Christian minister. She dropped out, but my mom was born again, and my sister started studying ministry, and she went to school. And did you know that ministers study all religions? So my sister came to me because at the time I was Wiccan, and she interviewed me about my religion. And I was happy to answer her questions. You know, she was like 19 or something. And so I was happy to answer all her questions about Wicca and pagan and witchcraft and all of that kind of stuff because, and I could see on her face that she was kind of surprised because it wasn't what she expected. Because Christianity has a lot of sort of pushes on it that kind of push you towards believing this or that, especially in regards to like what's good and evil. And the funny thing is a lot of that stuff is not even in the Bible, and most Christians can't quote the Bible. So some can and do, but I don't think the Bible should be taken literally. And you have to remember that it wasn't even Jesus that wrote the Bible. Jesus was probably actually, like, scientifically, you should check this out, Bianca. There's a great documentary. You should check out Gaia TV. It'd be really good for you. And there's a documentary on there, and I think it might be on YouTube too. And it's about Jesus's real life as a Buddhist monk. That actually he was probably born in the Tibetan mountains. And all right, Cynthia, good luck. I hope you feel good. And Bianca, so if you look it up, it's something like Jesus was a Buddhist monk or something like that. Essentially, he was born in the Tibetan mountains, and then he came down and started to preach, okay, and brought all the messages of the Tibetan monks that they've had for thousands of years, way before Jesus's time. And he preached the same thing. And if you look at what Jesus preaches, he's essentially preaching the same message that, like, the Dalai Lama is preaching, you know, treat others as you want to be treated and things like that, right? Okay. And then when he was crucified, he didn't actually die, but he got put in that room, right, in that cave or whatever, and then the rock got pushed away, but that was pushed away by his buddies who actually came in, brought him healing, and took him back up to home in the Tibetan mountains. I don't think he died at the crucifixion. So if you if you watch the documentary, it can really change your mind about Jesus and what that means and what Jesus means. And maybe it's true. And maybe because the Bible was written by like some followers, like 50 years later, 100 years later, way after his original apostles would have been dead. Okay. So iFlip says, ooh, what's a death astrology chart? Is it based on transits or progressions? Okay, so a death astrology chart, iFlips, is essentially the birth chart of a person and the death chart of a person. And I put them together along with your natal chart to find out what your relationship is with them. It's a one-of-a-kind, unique reading. No one else does it but me, at least as far as I know. And if you find someone else that does it, please send their link to me. Like, send me a message with their link. I use death astrology, medical astrology, synastry, and natal chart reading. All of those skills together, along with my mediumship, to read the chart and sort of help you understand the death of someone. It's a very powerful reading. I was talking about it at the beginning of this, and because someone asked a question about it, or no, because I was starting the talk about it, actually. And I might do a talk on Friday about it. We'll see. Or, sorry, Saturday about it. Yeah, Bianca, I think that you will really like Gaia TV. even if you don't watch that documentary. There's lots of great stuff on there about spirituality and consciousness. It's just really powerful. Mina, this is a question and answer. So I'm not really doing readings in this moment. Hi. Exactly, Summer. Yes, take care of Mother Nature, right? Hi, Michelle from Australia. It's great to have you with me. And hi, Marie. I'm glad you're here. Please put your questions in the comments. I appreciate that. Any questions you might have. You know, oh boy. So, I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you asking questions and making this like a great conversation. But the great thing is that there's a lot to learning about consciousness and meditation. There's having control over your emotions. I mean, how many of us have spent our whole lives reacting to everything? Does anybody here react all the time? Right? Like, you're just living your life, something happens, and then you react to it, right? And it's interesting that we can actually control that. And most people that study meditation, enlightenment, yoga, they work at not reacting. And sometimes that becomes a great habit over time because you have better control and you can regulate your emotions, which is a great thing. It's absolutely beautiful, fantastic. Exactly, Sarah. And you're amongst millions of people that react to things, that you just kind of live your life in a constant state of reaction. And then life leads you. You're not running your life. So then it's like the boat is driving itself, right? And so if you really want to master life, one of the great things to do is to take the wheel. But you have to take the wheel. You have to do the meditation. You have to do the yoga. You have to change your mindset, right? And when we start to change those things, what starts happening is we have better control over our lives, and things often go way better, way better for all of us. I mean, by huge, like, I just can't even tell you like what my life was before, what my life was 25 years ago. I'm 50 years old. Okay. I'll be 50 in September. So we'll just say 25 years ago, my dad died. I didn't know how to handle death. I wasn't sure about the other side. I had spiritual crisis. I reacted to everything. I was in an awful relationship. I was in toxic relationships, had emotional reactions constantly. And my life doesn't look anything like that now. Nothing like that. And now I don't even react to like especially like people that say stupid things that have no meaning in my life. Like, I just ignore them. Like, if they don't, like, I'm very much a Brene Brown fan. If you don't know who that is, you should look her up. She's really great for mental health. She can help you. Like, if they're not in if they're not doing what I'm doing, then their opinion doesn't count. Okay? So if they're not a psychic medium, if they're not a mentor, they're not an astrologer, and they're not doing lives every week and running their own business and running a psychic service and running an Airbnb, then I don't care what they say. That's just it. Why would you listen to someone that isn't even doing what you're doing? So don't let anyone ever put you down. And that's what I'm saying. Don't listen to people like that. Just dismiss them. They're stupid. They don't even know what they're talking about half the time. So Bianca said that she's very sensitive to others' energy and behavior. Sometimes I've always found frustrating about myself. I would love to have more control over my own emotions, but it sounds like the only answer is to put it to work. Yeah, Bianca, I would start, you might need to practice doing readings, or at least do readings for yourself. Like I would have you be working with tarot cards. I would have you working with a pendulum. I would have you doing meditation, yoga. We would be doing a lot of stuff in coaching to to help you get control, because what it is that you're an empath. And a lot of people are empaths, especially anyone that has even a mildly dysfunctional family. You become an empath because it's a survival need. Because when you're a little kid, your mom yells at you and you have to learn how to read her energy when she comes home. Is she going to feel like yelling at you, or is she going to feel like loving on you? And we have to, as little kids, we learn to read people's emotion and sense in people's emotion. That's what we have to do in order to become empaths, and that's why we grow up to be empaths. So really, Bianca, technically it's kind of a trauma response. So that's just kind of where I'm at. Hi Nicole, welcome. I'm glad you're here. All right. Marie said, how can you tell an evil pretending to your loved one you want to connect? What? Wait. Instead of the evil. I'm confused between evil interfering with your connection with your loved one. Okay, so Marie, let me address this, okay? So, let me ask you a few questions, and I'm not going to look for your answers. I'm going to assume what your answers are, okay? Do you believe in evil babies? Do you believe that when a baby is born, it's full on evil? Just before anything happens, it's evil. I'm going to assume the answer to that is no. In fact, most evil people in the world are created by childhood trauma, okay? People that say mean things, people that do mean things in the world are usually traumatized, right? Like currently all the little goofballs in YouTube that keep trying to piss me off. They're like little trolls or something. I don't know what they're trying to do. But so those guys, right? They're all traumatized. Their childhood, they didn't get enough attention, or they only got attention. Okay. And so then people do evil things, and then that's how they become evil. Okay. That's why people do evil things, because they're abused. And then they die. And the spirit is no longer human. So they're no longer suffering from the human condition. So there is no evil spirit. The only reason that some people believe in evil spirits is because they also believe in Christianity, and Christianity doesn't make sense. Because if we don't believe that any baby is born evil, and that humans are born as human beings, and that most human beings are loving, kind individuals, and sometimes human beings do wrong things, and usually those behaviors are done because they were abused, when they die, their human condition goes away. So then they become a spirit on the other side, ready to be reborn again. So they're not evil. They might have some heaviness around their soul or whatever, but they're not evil. So that's not a thing. You don't have to worry about being, and even if you have a hard time like letting go that evil spirits don't exist, spirits for sure, even for people that do possession readings, people that allow themselves to get possessed, they have to give permission for the spirit to enter them. Evil spirits cannot enter you without permission. Okay? And if you're talking to your loved one, then that's who you're talking to. So there is no risk of that. Summer said, I'm doing my first transcendental meditation next week. It's a 4-day course, and I know I really need it. I'm so excited to experience it. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that kind of meditation? I'm hoping it'll help me embrace my intuition and spiritual gift. I think it's beautiful. I think that there are different types of different ways to go about it. And I definitely think if you're going on like a 4-day meditation, you know what? Christmas, I'm taking like 3 or 4 days off too. And I'm doing a full on retreat, and I plan to do a lot of meditation and yoga. So frankly, I think I'm proud of you. I'm glad you're doing it, Summer. I think that there's different types of meditation and different ways to approach it. And I think that all of them are right. And, and I don't think like there's a particular kind of one that's better than the other. Like I don't think I've done some transcendental I've done some meditation like that, and I have found it to be absolutely powerful, and it works for me, and I totally enjoy it. It's actually really good for me. Hi, Nicole. This is a question and answer. You can put your question in the comments if you have one. So I think that's really awesome. Sarah, I can't wait to hear how it is when you come back. Let us know how it went and how that worked for you. Marie, I'm so glad that you could hear what I had to say, because sometimes people get really upset when I tell them there are no evil spirits, and this is why. But there aren't. 30 years in mediumship. You know what's funny about that, though? When I first started as a medium, I was like 20 something. And I had already learned how to do readings for people, but I was afraid of evil spirits. And I started working with an exorcist for a long time. And she would just occasionally call me and ask me if I could come to such and such house with her. And she often wanted me to communicate with the spirit because she thought I was really good at communicating with them. And so we started doing that. And after about 3 or 4 times, I asked her, I just said, are any of these, none of these spirits are really evil. They just all seem to have like a different intention. Like they're ghosts in people's houses, right? And she was just like, yeah, I've never met an evil ghost. And then over time, I was like all the time, and I did a lot of different things. I lived in a 150-year-old, maybe it was older than that. Maybe it was more like 200-year-old mansion on the East Coast of the United States in Maryland. It was a house right on the edge of the line where slavery ended. And it was so interesting because I started channeling the spirits there, and I was able to help the owner hunt like facts down in the library. And I would say things, and she'd be like, "How did you know that? I just read that yesterday, and no one knew that." And it was fun to work with her on the house because she was trying to make it into like a historic like place you could go get a tour, because the deed of the house was signed by George Washington. So it's a pretty cool house. And I lived there for a long time. I was a caretaker for her brother who had Down syndrome, but she hired me because I was a medium. So she hired me as the caretaker for her brother, yes, but it was also for a medium. Do you think we're all capable of mediumship? Yep, I do. Some people are better counselors than others, right? Some of us are better at listening to people's emotions and holding space for that than others. That's all. Nicole asked, are the ghost hunting programs fake when they say they are evil spirits in the house haunting a family? Yeah. Here's an interesting fact I can tell you, Nicole. I used to work with those ghost hunting ghost sort of, spirit hunting. And I used to think they were kind of cool. because I used to watch stuff on TV. And then I started, like, befriending them and stuff like that. And then someone asked me to, like, mediumship for them. And I was like, okay, sure, I'll bring in the messages. And so I started bringing in the messages from the spirits. And after some time, I started saying, somebody asked, like, if the spirit was angry or something. And I was like, no, they're a spirit. They're not human anymore. So why would they be angry? And the guy and I kind of, like, I guess it wasn't exciting enough, but the guy running the program asked me not to come back because my answers weren't exciting enough. So, I don't really do paranormal communicators anymore as a result. I don't trust them. I don't need it proven. I know what I believe. I know that I can communicate with spirits on the other side. And I don't need, so, I don't need anyone to prove it to me. So, interesting that person said that, because technically that's a eye condition. It's an eye condition. Shantus of fly. That is an eye condition. Yeah. So they have scratches on their body and things like that. And I've been to like paranormal situations where there's, like, like 5 or 6 people hunting a ghost. And what I've noticed is that they actually end up doing that to themselves most of the time, because they're projecting and they're scared. So they're, like, making up all these stories. They, like, fall all over themselves. And have you ever watched them? Watch the way they freak out and run, and you'll start realizing something's not right here. And that's why they get scratched up. I'd get scratched up too if I was falling all over the place. So, just saying. So, it's just saying, I wouldn't give too much energy to those sort of ghost hunting. I mean, they don't believe what I'm doing is real either, interestingly. Some of them do. Some of them are like, yeah, we believe in mediums, but usually those mediums also believe in evil spirits. But that is a pretty unpopular belief system that I have. But like with mediums, sometimes mediums really buck at it, especially if they've spent 20 years hunting ghosts. And I've spent a lot of time hunting ghosts, and I didn't really find that any of them were necessarily evil. I found that they were misunderstood, maybe projected onto. Yes, for sure, I've witnessed that, where humans project, and a lot of times spirits are like a lot of times spirits are like mirrors, and they reflect back what you're feeling. So that's another interesting thing. So but they usually don't want to scare you. I notice that people on these shows are always too keen to prove a point. Exactly. And I'm just like, I don't need to know. Like, I don't need you to prove it to me. I don't need your little beeper to go beepity beep. Like, I just don't need it. I know spirits are real. I don't need you to make your beeper go beepity beep or to tell me that they exist. I just don't need it. So Nicole said, yeah, Nicole, you can sleep better tonight. And you know what? No spirit can enter you without permission. Period. Okay? That's like my guides explain it like it's like a law, like a physics law. They can't take your body. They can't enter your body without permission. And that's funny because most people that do possession readings where they get possessed by your loved one and then they talk to you like that, most of them are giving permission for their loved one to come through. Okay. Can spirits send you warnings or guidance on like your stressful situations? Yeah, they do all the time. Yeah, Tanya, and you should ask for them. You should ask for them to help you. They sometimes will wait for you to ask for help, especially if you're kind of stubborn and don't ask for help very much. They're gonna wait for you to ask for help. So you should ask for help. You should ask your spirit guides, please help me with this now. That kind of thing. I don't even know who that is, Nicola. I don't even know who that is. She said, and talk to the kids. My daughter was talking to my mom when she first left us, but has slowed down on doing so. I want to help her stay connected with my mom. I'm sure she is. I'm sure she is, actually. So I'm sure she is connected. How do I tend to experience them? Spirits? I tend to feel them. I get, sometimes I get, like imprints. I get a lot of claircognizance, which is just knowing. I do get clairsentience, which is kind of like sensation. I hear sometimes. Yeah, I smell sometimes. And sometimes I see symbols. I don't see them, but I see symbology for them. So, so I've never seen a spirit, but sometimes I hear a voice in my head that I know isn't mine. That's probably your spirit guide, sweetie. So that's probably how. Yeah. Joe McLean, you get a meditation. Meditate. It's really helpful. I also get images of what I call cosmic downloads. That's exactly what I call them too. I call them just downloads, but it's the same thing. I see symbology in my mind's eye. I see like things that symbolize things. Sometimes I see astrology symbols. And it will have something to do with the reading that I'm doing. Sometimes I'll see like other just like symbols for things, animals and stuff like that. Nicola, yeah, there's usually actually I think you have a spirit guide for just about many different aspects of your destiny, of your life purpose. So like you'll have a different spirit guide to aim you in a different direction. Like I have a spirit guide that steps in anytime I have to do public speaking, especially activism, like LGBTQ, because I'm non-binary. And so there's usually a spirit guide for that. There's a spirit guides that step in and help me do drag. There's spirit guides that will, everybody has spirit guides. Everybody has spirit guides, Roxanne. So, hi, Barbara. How can we be more aware of our spirit guides? I'd say it's to have a meditation practice. Definitely. Meditation practice is the best, or yoga. So Tanya said, so could what I thought was daydreams or even when I'm sleeping dreams sometimes, and it either warns me or gives me a whole story, that's not just my imagination? No, it's not. And that's an interesting thing, Tanya. And I can talk a little bit. I can talk a little bit about that. So the part of your brain that runs your imagination, is like the part of your brain that runs your imagination is the same part of your brain that is activated when psychics' brains are studied. And but the psychics are still getting things very accurate, and they're very on point. So the psychic part of your brain and your imagination are actually one and the same. And when we're children, we're taught that it's our imagination, but not everything is your imagination. Some things are your imagination. So if you sit down and you say, I'm going to write a book about a hobbit that crosses a major land and goes over mountains, and what should his sidekick's name be? That's imagination. But if you are doing the dishes and you're not thinking of much of anything, and all of a sudden a problem that you were having at work that you weren't even thinking about, you come up with a solution of it, that's your spirit guides. Okay. Roxanne, try some daily meditation. That'll help. And if you want to, Roxanne, you can come see me for coaching and I'll help you find them. Can we ask for specific signs like show me a turtle for no, or show me a rabbit for yes? That's a little bit harder, iFlips, because that might mean that they have to like create a turtle out of nowhere, right? And that's not really a spirit guide's. Now, they might give you a warm feeling in your body. You could ask for that for yes, warm for yes. Or what I did is I said, show me yes, show me no. And so yes is when I get chills or a warm sensation or a tingling sensation in my gut or lower body. And a warm and no is nothing. I get nothing. So, Jojo McLean, you probably don't get enough sleep. So that means you probably should work on your general health, your general wellness. And if you're taking sleeping medication or smoke marijuana or drink before you go to bed, that would explain why you don't remember your dreams. Tanya said, things I think really end up happening, or I avoid the warnings for things to not do, and literally have been saved from accidents, deer crossings and stuff. Yep, those are angels. Those are angels interfering to save your life. Yep, I've had angels interfere and save my life too. I get it. If someone talks to themselves but feel like many people are listening too, is that how it feels like to talk to your guides? I guess it might, from the outside, it might look like I'm talking to myself. It might look like that. Would you say that increasing heart-brain coherence would help with connecting to spirit guides? Yes. And also, how about alternate nostril breathing? Yes to both of those, MS. Yes, absolutely. The fact that you know what heart-brain coherence is like, I'm like, wow, really? You're on the right path. But you can hear me talking about heart-brain coherence a little bit earlier in the question and answer, but I didn't name it that way. I said that there's an energetic field that comes from our hearts and our brains, that helps create the divine or God. So yes, I do believe that heart-brain coherence, of course, if you know about that, that creates that our energetic field around us that can be measured. And then, of course, that energy field will attract or keep things away from you, therefore bettering your life, usually also increasing your health, right? And then as a result, also you'll be able to have better, I know that the more I got my heart-brain coherence together, the more I was able to tap into the third eye, the more I was able to I was able to really vision things and see things and feel things on a deeper level, and I also, because of the heart brain coherence, your emotionality and belief in yourself even changes. So you even tend to believe in yourself, and you even take your intuition seriously, because you recognize that there's more than meets the eye in life, right? Because especially when you start to work with that energy, the heart brain coherence, you recognize that there's more than what we can feel and touch in the world. And so those things become more concrete. And in my life, you know, I might just say, all right, guides, what do you think I should do now? And I've had situations in my life where, like, I was diagnosed with a heart condition that was freaking serious. Okay, like, you could just die suddenly. It's like that disease where people just, like, athletes die on the right. Okay, and so it's the same disease. And I was like, do what? And apparently my dad had it, and it's hereditary. So the more I started to learn about it, the more I was like a little freaked out. And anyway, so I was going through that, and it was hard, and it was like coming to terms with that. And maybe I've I sometimes believe that because I found heart brain coherence in my 30s, now I'm 50, that kept me from actually dying suddenly. Actually, I think it kept my heart from going over the edge. And I think it also, in the moment, after many years of having heart brain coherence, I was just out in the mountains driving. I was actually riding in the car, and I quietly thought out loud. And I was actually talking to my spouse about my choices. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't know. And then I spoke out loud to my father. I said, okay, Dad, Karen, what do you think I should do? And because I had 3 different treatments. And my dad said, you'd make me do it if I was there. If it was me, you'd make me do it. And he was right. I would. So I had to. Now I've had open heart surgery, and now I'm about to get a device in my armpit to save my life in case that happens in the future. Okay. So what I would say about heart brain coherence is that it's priceless. It is priceless. Okay. MS said, how perfect. Yes, I bought that expensive heart monitor from Heart Math. Yeah, but it was so worth it to learn the most important thing for me, to actually feel that tingly warmth around the heart. Yes, MS, I've actually thought about doing that myself, and getting the monitor and the brainwave thing. I'm not sure if I will, because I was doing it before they had all these monitors, so I sometimes wonder. But I do a lot of Heart Math meditations and stuff like that. I know exactly who Heart Math is. I'm a huge fan of Gaia TV. Tanya, it gave you chills because your spirit guides were saying, listen, that is true. What I was saying was so true. They wanted you to listen. There was some message in that for you. So I hope you were listening. That's your guides talking to you, Tanya. Yes, Nicole. I'll be 50 in September. Yep. But Nicole, I've been doing yoga since I was 30. I was vegetarian, I think, for a total of like 15 years-ish. Now I eat what might be considered a Mediterranean diet. And I'm a pretty happy person. I live a pretty happy life. I don't stay in toxic relationships. I leave them. I don't talk to toxic people like my mom. I don't talk to her because she's bad for my health. Tanya said, what's crazy is I found a heart issue. I found out I have a heart issue. I found out in 2021. Well, Tanya, I hope I don't know what condition it is. the condition I was diagnosed, I don't say that I have a condition. Okay, Tanya? It's just a suggestion. You don't want to have it. You don't want to own it, do you? So say I was diagnosed with a heart condition in 2021. The condition I was diagnosed with is called HCM, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's a rare condition, but yeah. I also, yeah. So maybe Tanya, if there's a treatment, maybe you need to ask the question out loud as well, or maybe if it's hereditary, maybe you need to ask the person that lived before that maybe died of it, that maybe what they think you should do, especially if you're given a couple of treatment options. Okay. Something guided me to this group, and you have taught me so much. I'm forever grateful for you. You're welcome, Tanya. My pleasure. Nicola, you have more wrinkles than me at age 30. Is it the filter? I don't think so. The filter's not really on, I don't think. I don't like those filters that make people look really, really okay, the filter was slightly on. Now the filter is completely off, Nicole. I think some of those filters that people wear is like, you look stupid. Like, I look at them and I'm just like, why are you doing that? I don't even know. It's funny. Thank you, MS. I appreciate that. And best of health for you as well. And may you always live in heart-brain coherence. Thanks, Nicole. Nicola, I do love my yoga and meditation, and I deeply appreciate healthy food. So I am very much a wellness geek. I am a Virgo and all. Yeah. That's a very good point. I don't want to own it. My body has made its own way to work mine. It's mitral valve prolapse with severe regurgitation. Okay. So are they offering to do a mitral valve replacement? So if you have to make that decision, maybe you should ask your guides. Just ask. Okay. All right. Well, I think we're just about done for the night. Yes, Marie, my auntie just passed in her sleep on December the 10th. Would my dad from the other side help her soul with transition? The answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. iFlip says, my guys are telling me to go to bed. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. I hope to join your group next month. Great. iFlips. My Facebook group is free, just by the way. It's a mediumship group. It's called Mediums Communicating with the Dead, Grief and Loss. Okay? Yep. Yeah, so Marie Grattan in the mediums group. Yes, absolutely. Okay. And that is about it for the night. And I appreciate you. Yeah, the filter wasn't on that strong, Nicola. I don't really, I think it's from being a vegetarian. Actually, Nicola, I think it's from being a vegetarian. But I don't like the filter on too strong because it's, I think it looks stupid. I don't know about you guys. Like, look at this. Like, if I turn this way up, doesn't this look stupid? It looks dumb. You can tell it's digitally done. Okay, let me stop. But people take pictures of themselves with the filter, and I'm like, you look like you're 10. So silly. Sort of like when 80-year-olds dye their hair, right? It's called, I think I might know that one. I'm kind of an herbalist, MS. That one looks like it's in this mixture that I buy. STROP. I'm going to write it down and look it up. STROPHAN ANTHYN. Okay, I typed it into my thing, so yeah, I think no, I don't know if I know. How does it stop a heart attack? Do you know what it does? Because my heart attacks aren't. I don't have a heart. That's not what my No, you spelled it right. I looked it up. Yeah, I make my own tinctures too. Like herbal tinctures and stuff. But the condition that I have is technically not a heart attack. So I wouldn't have a heart attack. So a heart attack is like when the heart is not getting enough blood and it's overworking or whatever. Okay. And it might be from clogged arteries. It might be from unflexible arteries. It might be from a valve not working correctly. Okay. All of those things. That's not what happens with the condition I was diagnosed with. It's called sudden cardiac death. Sudden death. You just suddenly die. That's that. Because your heart gets kind of wacky, like this, because the muscle is too big. You ready for this? The muscle is too big, so the electricity doesn't go through it accurately as well. And then it kind of like there's 4 ventricles, so like they're not beating like they're supposed to beat like this, right? But they don't. With the condition that I was diagnosed with, they kind of do this. And when that happens, sometimes you get a little less oxygen to your head, to your brain. And if you're not hit with a shock, those little shock paddles, it will keep doing that, and that's what makes you die. Okay? And that's called sudden cardiac death. It's because the heart's like kind of like in a weird rhythm. They call it tachycardia. And so it's not an enlarged heart, Nicola. It's not that. I'm sorry that your mom died of an enlarged heart, but an enlarged heart is sort of like a heart that's swollen because it's super stressed because it has to work too hard, but my arteries are not clogged. This condition has zero to do with anything I've eaten, how much exercise I've done, or anything like that. It's actually just 100% genetic. And it is not enlarged, not at all. And it is a big heart, but it's big in a different way. So like an enlarged heart is a swollen heart, and my heart is not swollen. It's literally the muscle has developed to be too big. The sad part is my son also was diagnosed with it, and so were both of my grandchildren. Sometimes babies are born with this, and they have to have heart transplants. I'm so glad we haven't had that in our family, and it shows up differently for everyone. And I believe that heart-brain coherence, MS, has a lot to do with it. Just my thought. And they are studying it in epigenetics. So it's called sudden cardiac death. That's what it's called, SCD. They don't ever say that to you in the hospital when they talk to you. They'll say SCD. And then it takes you a while to figure out what SCD is. Then you ask what SCD is. Because no one wants to say death to you in a cardiologist's office. So that's why they're going to put a device in my armpit that listens to my heart. If my heart does some of that funky stuff we just talked about, that funky beating, it will shock my heart and stop it from doing that. I'll probably be passed out when it does it. So, I'm just glad that there's treatments for it, right? So maybe I was meant to do it. Cardiomegaly is an enlarged heart, right? Yep, that's right. That's what you're talking about. Megaly, cardiomegaly. But the name of the condition that I was diagnosed with, Nicola, is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. It's not the same. There's a great website about it, hcma.org. So, so it's a little bit different than the enlarged heart. Yep, the enlarged heart is usually a swollen heart. Sorry, it's for hcma.org. Yeah, for hcm.org. Sorry, for hcm.org. That's the name of the website. It's called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Okay. Some people call it HOCM. HCM. Okay. All right. It's been a wonderful night with all of you. I've enjoyed our conversation. I appreciate all of you. And I look forward to seeing you next time. All right. And I look forward to another week of more readings and beauty like that. And encourage you to check out my coaching and astrology readings, especially if you want to hone in next year, you want to get an astrology reading. I think that you should get an astrology reading every year, at least once a year. If you don't do it at New Year's, do it on your birthday. Okay? I think astrology is super powerful. I think it helps us guide our lives. I think it helps us with everything, including the death of a loved one. And I think also mediumship can help us heal. And I also think that all of us together, we all support each other as well. That also helps us heal. And remember that I also offer metaphysical coaching, grief coaching. I'll teach you to be a medium, and I will have medium classes next week. Okay? Or next month, sorry. After the new year. Okay? All right. Good night to all of you, and enjoy the rest of your night. Please take care of yourself, and maybe just take an extra 5 minutes to take a deep breath. May you be blessed with peace. Good night.
Are you seeking guidance on your spiritual journey? Need help with a vexing problem? Missing a loved one and looking for answers? Look no further than Psychic Insights, a small trusted psychic service offering mediums, psychics, and spiritual coaching. This service is managed by Hollis Taylor, a gifted psychic medium, astrologer, and a compassionate coach. We are dedicated to helping you navigate your spiritual awakening. At Psychic Insights, we provide medium readings and psychic insight to help you plan for tomorrow and make choices for today. Find the support you need, compassionate grief coaching, and astrological insights to help you spiritually grow and transform. Our professional services include well-managed schedules, recorded sessions, and reliable psychic mediums ready to facilitate your transformational experience. Discover more at psychicinsights.life.